So it's Warrenton, and I've got a special guest who I'm known for a long time, but it's good to speak to him personally live inside the building. We're talking about Robbie from Jam Jar Sound System. What's up, Robbie?
Yes, nice to see you, man. Thanks for inviting me down.
No worries at all. It's good to have you, man. So let's go back, because people who don't know, obviously, when it comes to reggae music in Birmingham, we would know. But people who are just watching now and listening, tell us about Jam Jar Sound System.
Right, so Jam Jar Sound is a sound system, as the name indicates. There's three kind of permanent members and loads of associates. And basically it started off as a Monday night in a pub where me and Bongo Demo, who's the other selector in the crew, used to just meet up and play each other records, really. It's the only night they could give us, because obviously all the weekends and all the good nights were taken, and so they'd given us this Monday night to do a little thing.
Yeah.
And from there, basically, it grew. We got more involved with artists, with other DJs, and we've kept the night going for now 23 years, something like that, 24 years. Every Monday, almost. With the odd interruption, obviously, we had COVID. We had the odd change of venue that always makes us lose maybe a couple of weeks or...
Yeah.
But pretty much every week since. And since also we've kind of built it up, so we've got a live stream now. You can listen to it online. You can tune in from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
As well as come in person at the station in Kings Heath every single Monday in life.
And it's definitely, if you haven't been there, if you haven't been to a Jam Jar event, it's definitely a good event to go to. But your journey in general, going on Jam Jar Sound, tell us about the beginning. Like, where did you start from? Was you originally from here, or you was originally in Europe? Or?
Yeah, so originally, my main reason for coming to Birmingham in the first place was to come and study.
Okay.
So I studied electronic engineering at the University of Birmingham in Selly Oak, which is not far from Moseley, where I met loads of guys that were really into music. At the time, it was a really kind of vibrant kind of area. And you had loads of musicians, loads of like hippies and travellers, and it was kind of a different vibe, you know what I mean? And so yeah, landing in that environment, I met the guys that were going to start the record shop, Gibbering Records, and then that went on to organising Shambhala Festival and all that.
Wow.
And they were already involved in making events. They had Africa Jam at the university that they then took to other universities, to other places. So that was kind of my, introduction into the kind of music world in Birmingham.
Okay. So where you originally from, though? Where you originally from?
Originally, sorry, I'm from Paris originally, in France.
Okay.
So, but I lived in England as a kid. I spoke English, and so at school they kind of helped us to apply to English universities, which is how I ended up getting my bags when I was 18 and turning up in England.
So you was always back and forth anyway, even though you was in France, or was it?
No, not really. Like I lived there when I was younger, then I moved back to France when I was 7. And then from 7 to 18, I was in France, and then came to Birmingham at 18.
Wow. And the music thing just kind of took over for you,
yeah,
really?
Yeah. I mean, I'd listened to loads of music. I already played the guitar. I was into DJing and the technical side of DJing and all that. And yeah, coming to England, I've kind of, got more into reggae, because obviously Birmingham's a really big kind of capital of reggae, really, for the UK, even though it's slightly controversial. I stick to it. And yeah, when I first came to England, I remember going to the market.
Yes.
And they had Summit Records.
Yes, Summit.
Upstairs, and I'd gone in there, and he had all the covers of these tunes that I'd only heard on the radio. There was one radio show on this little station, which has become a big station now. But at the time, it was an hour a week of reggae and dancehall, basically. And you wouldn't really see those in the shops as much as obviously in England, where there's obviously a big reggae culture and dancehall culture. So yeah, walking into that shop, looking at stuff and meeting Winston.
Yeah.
Who is like...
Did you go to Don Christie's as well?
I think I went to Don Christie's, once or twice, but it was just caught the very end of it, I think.
Yes, that's right.
So,
coming from the time you've come here, it was coming to the end of it, and seeing Winston in Summit.
Yeah, that's it. And that was really the one who was like, this is, if you want to listen to Sizzler, this is the album you should get. Black Woman and Child was one of the first records I bought there. And it was, I suppose it was around that time, I think it's 96 or something. Album.
Yeah, that's right. It's got to be in late 90s, coming towards the end of the late 90s,
Yeah. So yeah, that was really the beginning. And then I ended up working in the record shop, Gibbering Records in Moseley, where I was responsible for the reggae. So I used to order all the 7s in from Ernie B's and those kind of distributors. which meant that I could get loads of records for cheap because I got them kind of distributor price, you know what I mean, as well as getting them for the shop.
So you had some for yourself as well then?
And that's it, yeah. A big part of my collection was like that, which, you know, pretty much, I don't think I ever took any wages out of that shop, man.
Nah.
Just strictly records. And in fact, I put money into this.
I don't think it was a money thing for most people in the record shops, unless it was the owners, but the people working in there is getting the music and access and the networking.
Yeah, the networking is definitely a big part of it, you know, just, you know, especially discovering about all this stuff. You know, I came, like I said, like started really collecting reggae in, you know, in the, you know, almost 2000 really. I mean, 98 it was, 99. And so, you know, I had a lot to catch up with. And so meeting people in the shop that were like, oh, can you order this and this? And do you know this song? You know.
So you picked it up really quick then. So pretty much from you got here from the late 90s, you went straight into it then, record
pretty much,
shops.
Yeah, I mean, the Jam Jam Monday started in 2001, so it was like 3 years in. Yeah. So, and again, the record shop was the link that made me meet Damon, who we started doing Jam Jam together.
Okay. But did that make you decide to play reggae music? Because you wasn't really DJing as such then. It was when you came to Birmingham that made you say, yeah.
I mean, I was DJing more house parties and stuff, and it was kind of a bit, you know, commercial, whatever. I had a little mobile disco hustle thing, you know what I mean? I was doing like birthdays and all that. But it was kind of, across genres. Although there was, you know, I think I was probably about, you know, 15, 16 when I started really finding out about reggae. And so there was a lot of that in my sets, you know. And it's only when I came to England that I got access to kind of pure reggae. Whereas a lot of the stuff I had before was like reggae influenced. And, you know, I mean, you got to get in there somehow, you know, for me, not growing up in a Caribbean environment or even in England where there's a lot of Caribbean people. Yeah. It's like, you know, it was a completely different thing. So the first reggae songs I heard were probably, obviously Bob Marley, UB40 and Aswad, stuff like that, you know, and that was on the radio, that was kind of on commercial radios. And then through listening to that, then you get to hear some other stuff that's more kind of, you know, and you kind of realize actually that the essential elements that you enjoy in those pop crossovers is actually the, you know, the foundation of reggae, you know. So when you come bass lines and the bass line. And so just having access to a lot more records, you know, all the pirate radios, there was still PCRL at the time, Sting FM, and New Style was there at the time as well.
The early days of Sting and and then
I don't know if Hot 92 was already there, if that was a bit later maybe.
Bit later, because there was a station called Passion, and then there was Hot 92, so it was a bit later, right,
So, just the access of it, and even now, you know, when I get friends coming over from England, or from France, I mean, or even other places in Europe, and, you know, we're in the car and just turn the radio on, and they're like, wow, is that just normal radio? And you're like, that kind of music plays on radio around here, you know.
But you was into it even in France and everything growing up.
Well,
there was a different setup, obviously.
Yeah, and also I discovered it quite late. I mean, my first kind of musical love and all that was more like AC/DC and, you know, kind of rock music because I was in that kind of environment. And, you know, playing the guitar as well was, you know, my first instrument was a guitar. And so, it was on that kind of rock flex. Yeah. And just little by little, like I say, like when I was about 15, 16, I started hearing it on the radio and kind of getting, and also realize the whole sound system side of it as well, because I was into DJing.
I was about to say the sound system. What was it like for you, that experience? Because I grew up on sound system anyway, my family and everything. But you've come to England. It
was crazy. Like, you know, the first time I went to see and it was weird because we were already doing the Monday night thing, but on a really low key one. And this guy was like, "Oh, look, I'm doing this event, and I need you to play in the bar." And so we were in the library in the Custard Factory. Yes. And we were in the bar in the little satellite system. And in the main room was King Earthquake and Abba Shanti. So nobody could hear our music. And basically taking turns and just holding the fort in the room. And the other two would go in the other, like, you know, in the dub room and do the thing. And that was my first kind of real experience with sound system. But before that, I was into decks and turntables and you know, the mixing and DJing. That's right. From almost from the equipment side of it more than even just the music, you know what I mean? And so reggae was a way of getting DJ music, as it were, that wasn't techno, that wasn't, you know, that kind of thing, that was actually music I actually vibed with more than, so I couldn't, you know, use the technical side on a music that I enjoyed more, basically. That's
right. And plus also when you're talking about Custard Factory and Digbeth, which is pretty much that side of Birmingham where you play a lot, you see a variety of music genres as well.
Yeah,
could go
definitely.
there. Especially back then, you'd have one venue playing house music on different deep house, not just like
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
commercial.
yeah, yeah.
Then just Shaka would be playing, and like you said, Earthquake and the sound systems and everything. So
Yeah, there was a good scene at
it
the
was a
time
good
in that
scene.
little spot there, man. Like,
Yeah,
the amount of
definitely.
shows I saw when, from Lee Perry to, I don't know, man, so many things down there.
Yeah.
Horace Sandy.
So you mentioned with Bongo,
Yeah.
and then you said let's build a sound together. Is that how it went about? Or?
Kind of. I mean, Damon had already started the event at the Custard Factory originally, taken over from a night called Dub with a Difference that was run by Ras Tweed
Yes,
at the time. And I'm not sure who else was involved with it. But basically, they had this night on a Monday at the Custard Factory that he then kind of passed on to Damon and another guy, Kier, who's still kind of involved in the background doing a lot of the graphics for us and that. And so they already had this thing going. And when they moved it to Moseley, because Custard Factory in town on a Monday wasn't really happening,
yeah,
that's when John from the record shop invited me down and said, my mate's doing some DJ thing there, playing reggae, and you've got reggae records, so you might as well come down and bring some records. And that's really how we'd met before at parties and that, but that's when we really kind of became friends and really kind of, started meeting every week to do this and gradually taking it
and
further.
it's carried on ever since.
And that's it, yeah.
So how did you get like into Moseley? Like the Bulls Head in Moseley, you were there for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. So originally we were just in the downstairs kind of playing background music, and then we ended up going upstairs. It was a bit more of a vibe, a bit more of a... Which really kicked it off, to be fair, man. That was even now people still remember that as one of the best times, you know what I mean?
It was the upstairs part that was the best, yeah.
It was a bit dingy and a bit kind of, it was quite crowded, and like to get to the toilet, so to the smoking area, you always had to like brush through like mans on each side, and that it was a bit, had that kind of vibe, but in a nice kind of way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think after when we moved to like the Dark Horse, say, or even before that, we were at this place called Drift, which had like a window onto the street, so you could kind of look in.
Okay.
And that really helped bring more people in, and gradually it became a bit more accessible, I think. Whereas before, and I think that's what people miss as well, is the fact that it was a bit more kind of underground, and you had to know about it at the Bull's Head. You couldn't just stumble on it.
No, you had to know about it, and you had a lot of artists that was passing through. Tell us about some of the artists.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it was because I also wanted to make music and stuff. So it's about that time actually that you could start recording on computers, and you know what I mean. And through coming to uni, I needed a computer for uni, so I got a bit of software and started making beats and stuff like that. And so meeting artists and recording them, and then getting them on the sound, and then they both kind of fed into each other, you know what I mean? Artists that came to the sound that then came to record, or people that came to record that then came on the sound. And
who were some of the people that were on the sound?
At the time, our main mic man was Boozer.
Yes, I remember.
And then there was Louis Irie was the first artist actually recorded on Rhythms, who was a local singer, and I don't know if you've come across him.
Yeah, with Louis Irie.
Yeah, because he's a DJ now more, I think.
Yeah.
But great artist, great singer, man. Sound a bit like Luciano or something, that kind of voice. So that was my first tunes, but I never really released any of that. That never really got released. That was more just kind of finding my way and just learning to, the craft, and
I get that.
Beginning of the network.
Yeah,
and stuff,
the beginning,
you know what I mean?
you record the music, and some songs you put out, some songs, but you got loads of like unreleased songs.
Yeah, loads, definitely, man.
There's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't happen.
It's just difficult to, you don't want to like just chuck it out without any promotion, but then organizing a campaign for each song that you want to put out is, it's a lot of work, and it's hard to kind of, and it's not as much fun as making music, you know what I mean? This is the issue.
Yeah. That's the only thing,
Playing, recording, getting ideas, and, it's the final stages that make it hard, really, especially now. I mean, the first few releases were vinyl still. So there was kind of a tangible project, and I knew like I had 500 records that had cost me like however much.
Yeah.
And then I was selling them to distributors, like, maybe like 50 at a time or something. And it was kind of a bit different. Whereas now you put tunes out and they're on Spotify.
Yeah, it's instant.
And you have to, before you get even £1 back on that tune, people have to listen to it a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas the records, it's like straight away. As soon as you sold it, you've made £3.
Yeah, it's true.
Obviously, it's the bigger outlay. It's a different game.
Yeah.
But I think it's coming back now still. I'm quite keen on putting out some more probably more roots tunes, but on the vinyl, just to keep that, keeping that scene as well, because it's almost like a different scene now. People who collect records, they listen to different music than people who listen to on Spotify.
It's changed a lot.
It's a completely different scene, definitely.
Yeah. So there was also Lionheart and
Lionheart as well, Pablo Ryder. So they came a bit later when we started doing nights in town, like weekend nights. That's after I finished university, and I was kind of more on the trying to organize events and stuff. And so Pablo Ryder came through an artist called Paradox, The Usual Suspect.
Yeah.
I don't know if you came across her. She was like more of a rapper kind of thing.
Yes, I remember.
She was absolutely amazing lyricist. And she brought Pablo around to mine, Pablo Ryder, who'd done a lot of work with UB40 on their Bag of Rhythm stuff. And he had a really good old school kind of DJ style. And actually he's back doing stuff with UB40 now.
Okay.
He did the latest Bag of Rhythm album that they did maybe 3 years ago, just before COVID, I think it was. And then Lionheart one time just turned up at the, what was the name of the place? Rooty Fruity in the Custard Factory.
The Custard Factory.
And he was like, oh, can I have a go on a mic? And we're like, yeah. And then he dropped his Welcome to Holland tune, which was a kind of Holland/Ganja version of Welcome to Jamrock.
Yeah.
On the rhythm, and it was just like, we're just like, man, this guy's amazing, man. So that's how we came to get involved. And then it was about that time that we started the band as well, Friendly Fire Band, which again was another extension. We were already doing stuff on rhythms and doing the sound system thing and getting artists more and more interested, because we had this regular night.
Yeah.
On top of the Mondays, we were doing like, I think it was once a month down Rooty Fruity. And the idea was always to bring artists through. We were always on that kind of live vibe.
I've noticed with like your platform, we always encourage artists and like the musical, the instruments and everything.
Because it is. I think it's more than just the DJ. This is what's nice about the sound system things. It's really like a kind. It's the platform and the promotion and the kind of outgoing kind of stuff that anyone can come on it and push out the music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's really what's missing now when you listen to a lot of new artists and you go and see them live. It's a different vibe because they haven't had that sound system experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's important. Even from whether you're a DJ, whether you're an artist, especially like a reggae DJ or dancer, and an artist, you get that experience.
That's it. And you need to be able to just use any rhythm that's there, and you need to find ways of projecting your voice if the mic's not very good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
you really notice with like experienced MCs or old school MCs, when you record them, that you don't need to do a lot of EQing, because the way they put their voice, it's already kind of got peaks in in the high frequencies. You can kind of cut through the rhythm. And I don't know if that's something that they learn, or if it's just a predisposition that their voice is like that and that's why they become successful, or if they kind of tune that to
I think it's a bit of both.
Probably a bit of both.
Both, definitely. Like going back to what you're saying, the experience from the sound systems, and I definitely miss it. I mean, what do you think about the scene now? I know you touched on like
there's a lot of I don't know, man. There seems to be a lot of different kind of quite separate sides to it. Like you've got the kind of old school sound system thing that's still like going, seems to be aging a little bit. Yeah. So it's people like us, like 40 plus, and even then, I feel like I'm on the young side of it. You know what I mean? And when you look at a lot of the sound clashes and that kind of traditional sound clash thing, it does seem to be older men now than before. It doesn't really seem to be that many kind of 20-year-old people that really want to take that on in that style anyway. But then on the other side, you've got all the kind of dub sound system, and that's really big in Europe and all that, which is kind of almost the other extreme, where it's just the drum and bass really that they're interested in, and it's really about dub and that steppers thing that sometimes gets a bit verges on techno a little bit. Yeah. And in terms of lyrics, it's less focused on the artists, and it's a lot focused on kind of Rasta lyrics and stuff like that. Yeah. Which, people get. Well, they get two sides, because you get the side of people that are really into the kind of roots Rasta thing, and then the guys that just want to, take pills and rave to like heavy bass lines and loud sound systems, you know what I mean?
because you kind of done both. You've done the sound system, the partying, but you also ventured in like the dub side.
Yeah,
Because there is a difference, like the festivals and stuff
definitely.
like that. But did the Jam Jar parties and events, did that get you into some of the festivals in Europe, or would you say, or did
not
you
so
kind
much? We haven't really played that much in Europe. Like most of our shows are in England, really, or in the UK. We've done the odd thing, like went to Turkey once with the band, and we did a few little things here and there. But most of our work's really in the UK. But with Jam Jam, what we're trying to do is really like cover the whole kind of, well, all the music we like, really, you know what I mean? Because I really like, old school roots and culture and like, kind of 70s kind of stuff. But I also like, a lot of the bashment and a lot of the dancehall, especially like kind of 90s, 2000 kind of thing. And, there's no reason why, you should choose just one thing and,
Yeah, I've noticed with the Jam Jam nights, you don't keep it separate. You kind of bring it together.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll play a bit of everything. And also, because we get guests every week at the moment, we try to get different guests. So sometimes you'll get an hour of hardcore roots and culture. And next time it'll just be like, kind of party dancehall, Yeah. So it's kind of good to get all those different aspects. And then there's the Vinyl Thursdays as well that, I've played at once before. I'm playing again there on the 29th of February in a few weeks, actually. Which is again another side of it, which is more the kind of collectors kind of side of it with all the vinyl and that. And all the music played there is kind of before 1990.
Where's that, the Vinyl Thursdays?
That's at the Onyx Bar in West Brom.
Okay.
Every Thursday. It's an early one that finishes at 11:30, so you need to get there early. But that's another aspect that, we've kind of moved away a little bit from that when originally Jam Jam was a vinyl sound, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Strictly vinyl until probably about 2012 or something, when it was just getting hard to get current music on vinyl. And on top of that, because we had all our own productions through the Friendly Fire music label, doing all the dub plates, it didn't make sense to press every one of them or cut every one of them onto a dub plate. So, we just moved to the computers and lost a bit of that kind of exclusivity that you got with the vinyl,
So you miss it. That's what made you decide to go back and say, like, strictly have like a variety of things. You play your vinyl, you can do.
It's like a different thing altogether, isn't it? Because I think now with DJs and sound systems, like it's quite easy to get the tunes. So from you've heard the tune, you know the tune, then you can find it and download it and play it. Whereas with the vinyl thing now, you'd hear the tune and you'd like the tune and you'd be looking for it for ages, and then you'd find it on an LP. But then anytime you try to play it out, it's not really loud enough and it feeds back. And you've got this song or you've got it on a CD, but you can't play it on the sound because it's on a CD, you know what I mean? And you had to keep looking until you found a physical copy on 7 or on 12 of that tune to be able to perform it on the sound.
That's right.
So it's not only what you knew, it's also what, you could get your hands on.
Especially when the change went from vinyl to CD. Because if you went to, like, going back to what you're saying, if you went to a club or a sound system and they had one vinyl and one CD and you've got one song on vinyl and one on CD, so you pretty much right to the end, you carried on playing vinyl, really. When you said 2012, you tried to carry on as long as possible.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of tunes coming out on, on sevens and that. Even some of the dancehall and everything still comes out, but it is, it's not the same.
No. It's not the same at all.
But it was nice before when we'd get together with different DJs and that certain people had certain tunes. Yeah. And you know what I mean? And that was kind of the vibe. And you'd hear a song and you'd go, I know who's playing this because nobody else has got this. You know what I mean?
So what made you have your own studio? Because I know you do your production, obviously. Was it because the demand came up and you're like, nah, I need some space now to do stuff?
I was always into the studio thing from early, really,
So you done both then? So from the get-go, you was like...
Yeah. So, I mean, my first recordings, when I was a teenager in the 90s was like, with a couple of cassette decks, so you had to kind of bounce it back.
Yeah.
To record your different parts and stuff. Or just record everything live, you know what I mean? But yeah, like I said, once the technology became accessible, pretty much as soon as I came to England, I started kind of looking into it and, getting software and, because I was always into that kind of side of it. Yeah. Before that, I had a groove box as well, the MC303.
Yes.
So the first beats I did was on that. It's kind of the old sequencer vibe.
Old sequencer. Which works with traditional dancehall as well. People like that kind of feel.
Exactly. So that was kind of cool. And that's also when I started, I think the first kind of reggae rhythms I built was on that.
Yeah.
Before moving fully to the computer, you know what I mean?
What software was you using at that time?
It was Cubase I had at the time.
Yeah.
Cubase SX.
Yes.
That was my...
that was your choice.
That was the first kind of Yeah, I had the official software as well with the dongle and everything, you know. Paid big money for it.
Big, as we had to say, big money at that time.
And then a few months later, they sent me a thing saying, "Oh, we're upgrading it now. Do you want to pay another 300 quid?" Like, I just bought it, and from then on, I was like, you know what, I ain't giving you any more money, man.
That's the trick. That's what that still goes on to this day.
Yeah, definitely.
So what software do you use now?
Now I'm in Logic now.
Yeah.
So yeah, and also now that the bands come kind of on the back of Jam Jazz Sound as well. Like Damon plays the drums, I play the guitar, and we decided to get a few other musicians together to be able to play a band.
Yeah.
And so a lot of most of our productions recently have been with the band, really.
Yeah.
Apart from the odd rhythm, like I did 2022 rhythm in 2022, which is more like a dancehall kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But aside from that, yeah, most of what I've released has been like Friendly Fire Band tunes.
Yeah. I mean, you also performed at the Commonwealth Games as well.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. How did you record the song? How did that go about?
So that was all a bit of a mad set of coincidences, basically. It all started with a guy called Jez Collins, who runs a Birmingham Music Archive. And I first met him when I was working in the shop, and he'd started up this, I think it's a charity, the Birmingham Music Archive, where he was trying to archive all the music that was being recorded in Birmingham. So not just the big hitters and the things that was on the radio, but you know, just everything that people are actually making. It's quite ambitious. But anyway, a few years down the line, he decided, because there was the Commonwealth coming, there was a bit of attention on Birmingham, to do a vinyl record with a few different artists that were active in Birmingham at the moment. So we were the reggae band. There was Daps on the Maps was on there. UB40 were on there as well. There's about I think there's 10 or 12 songs on it. And all the songs were to be about Birmingham. So it was different genres, different styles, but everything was about Birmingham and how people saw it. So recording for that, we wrote the It's a Brumting song and put it on the album. And that was that. It was great. Got a bit of funding for it as well, as you know, for the project. So that was it. And then a few weeks later on Facebook Messenger, I get a message going, "Oh, hi, I work for the BBC. I don't know if you'd be interested. We heard your song. You know, we wanted to use it." I was like, "Yeah, been waiting for this all my life."
Yeah, of
you know
course.
what I mean? This is exactly the kind of thing we want. So, so yeah, basically that was the link. And so I don't know how they got hold of it, or it's probably through the promotion that you know that they were doing for the actual record that they got hold of it. And I don't know, they just took to the song and used it for their coverage of the Commonwealth Games. So it wasn't actually planned for that. It's just, and which is why it wasn't the official song of the Commonwealth, but it was the song that BBC chose afterwards to use when they were covering the games. So it kind of became the unofficial song for the
So that
games.
wasn't the official song, because
It wasn't.
it
No,
got
I
played
think
so many times. You would think that.
yeah, but because BBC is such a big influence, really, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of interesting the way it works, because obviously that's the song that's generated the most income for the band. It's not my favorite song personally. You know, it's a bit on the side of, you know, all the other songs that we do that are kind of a bit more reggae, a bit more in that kind of, you know, niche thing. This was a bit more commercial. It's a bit kind of poppy kind of thing. But really what made it famous was that BBC was like, you know, playing it loads. So in a way, whoever that person was who decided to use that tune, it's all down to him, really, because whether people liked it or not, they were going to play it on the BBC, and you know, it's going to generate royalties.
Just goes to show.
Yeah, which kind of makes you wonder about the whole industry. You know what I mean? If you've got those kind of links, and you can get your song played on Radio 1, Power Play or whatever, if you know the right person, then it's just, you know, it's
That's
a
true.
guaranteed return on your investment.
Because you get paid more when your songs get played on radio.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of people don't
Loads
talk
more,
about
man.
that. You compared to, you'll get millions of people that will listen, or thousands on Spotify and YouTube. But if those
That's
people,
nothing.
same amount of people was listening to radio all over the world.
Yeah.
it's
And the
nothing.
thing is, the radio just needs to play it. People don't need to listen to it.
Yeah, you got a point.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's an interesting kind of thing. And he kind of, you know, makes you a bit cynical about the whole thing a little bit.
Yeah, I couldn't, but that's just the industry in general.
Yeah. But it was great to get that attention to the band and also now, you know, when we approach people and stuff, we're like, oh, we're the guys that did that song, you know, that you must have heard. And, you know, it gives you that kind of accolades kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
No.
So when you went into the studio, did you say, look, we're gonna have to keep this kind of more commercial because it's more mainstream, or did you?
It just kind of came
You
like
just-
that, you
like
know,
a
like,
vibe.
yeah, like we got in, we're kind of thinking, I mean, one of the specialties of the band is playing kind of live dancehall as well. So we've kind of thought that would be a nice kind of little angle to get that kind of, you know, slight kind of dancehall beat. And I think it was Mikey that came and goes, nah, man, it's, you know, it's for the summer, so it needs to be upbeat. It needs to be like, you know, the kind of song that people walk into the stadium with, and it needs to be up like that. And
That's
so,
something that Michael would say.
yeah, definitely. And, you know, he's like, you know, he's all about energy. And
Yeah.
and to be fair, he had a large part in, you know, he came up with the hook, and, you know what I mean, it's a big part of the song, definitely.
Okay. Tell us about how you like met Mikey. I know him from back in the day, but how
Yeah.
you met him personally.
I think it was via Little Richie, really, that was who's always been a supporter as well, like from early. And so he was playing one of our rhythms. I think it's the Premonitions rhythm, which is like 2011 or something.
Yes.
And I think Mikey was looking for a kind of band at the time to come back, and because he'd left the MC world and been playing the bass. So he was touring with like loads of people, you know, from Michael Rose, Elephant Man, and Ika Mouse, and all sorts. And I think Dennis Brown was his first gig as well as a bass player. So it's pretty deep. But anyway, he wanted to come back on the MCing thing, and so he just heard the songs on the radio called Richie. Richie was like, "Oh, it's this guy." And then Matt Keys, our keyboard player, he was playing in some other band, and I think that Mikey was involved with as well. So I think he's the one that brought him around the first time.
Okay. So what year was that then around?
That must have been, I don't know, man. 20. Well, no, Premonitions of 2011. So it was after that.
After,
Yeah.
I was thinking it was about around that time.
Yeah, it's 2012, 2013.
Because Lionheart and them, they did they come off the sound really, or they started doing their own thing?
Yeah,
before that.
Man, it's really hard with dates, you know.
Yeah.
With the
Well, it
COVID
was
in the
around
middle,
that time.
it was around that time. Yeah.
Definitely.
Because Lionheart and Mikey were still on the sound together for a long time on the Mondays.
Oh, okay.
Doing one each, like alternate weeks, and then for the big ones to be both of them there. But Lionheart got quite busy with his Bob Marley tribute, the Bob Marley Experience, which is a killer show as well. Like, you know what I mean?
He did. Yeah.
We were talking about Bob Marley,
Talking
the
about
film.
Bob Marley,
You know
watched
what I
the
mean?
film. What was your opinion of the film?
I thought they should have got Lionheart, man. You know what I mean? Because you see him on stage fronting the Marley thing, and you know he really looks more like Bob Marley than, you know, most people I see trying to be Bob Marley. So you know, he's definitely got that in him. You know what I mean?
You thought it was a good film, though.
I thought the film was okay. Yeah, it was. I don't know. It's, you know, mixed feelings. It was nice. It was entertaining. You know, it was fun. Yeah, some of the actor choices, I don't know, like, it's difficult, man.
Yeah.
So I've got in my mind, I've got a kind of darker perspective on Bob Marley than how he's portrayed there.
I think everyone's got their own perspective. On
I mean,
Bob
it's difficult.
Marley.
Obviously, I never
It's
met
very
him. You
hard.
know what I mean? I was
exactly.
one when he died. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So we haven't met him.
But so it's just from reading stuff, and so everybody's got their thing, and everybody's got their agenda. And I mean, clearly, I thought this film was quite like, if there was an agenda, it was whatever agenda Rita's got. You know, it felt, because it really portrayed her really well. In a way, it could have been, you know, her story more than his.
It was a good story between them. The way
Yeah.
they showed it, yeah. You
Definitely,
saw a
it's
different
interesting.
side
So,
of
yeah,
Rita
yeah, yeah.
Marley. It was,
But is it the true side? Who
We don't
knows?
know.
Because obviously there's a conflict of interest because she's paying for the film, or involved with it. So I don't know.
we don't know, but I thought it was a good film.
It was a good film. It's nice to hear those tunes, and it's nice to see those shows. And what I really liked as well is a lot of the pictures, you kind of recognize album covers, and you're like, oh yeah, that's when he was, you know what I mean? He's dressed the same, playing his acoustic guitar, and you're like, oh, that's legend.
Yes.
Or when he's playing football with that Adidas tracksuit.
Same.
Everybody's seen those pictures, you know what I mean? And then you see it in real life. So I thought that was quite cool, man.
Yeah. I liked the relationship they had between like Bob Marley and Rita.
Yeah.
I think that carried the film, like how you mentioned.
Yeah.
Definitely. But yeah, it was a good film.
It was nice, man. It was nice. It's always nice to see, but I think it's always difficult to do that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, me and Damon were talking about the Doors film from the 90s, and was it Val Kilmer?
Yes.
He's more Jim Morrison than Jim Morrison, really, in people's minds. You know what I mean? You see him and you're like, oh, yeah, that's Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
and I feel like it's always a bit difficult to put another face on a famous person that is so iconic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Very difficult.
But why don't they do it deep fake? You know what I mean? Because they could do that. They could just use his real face, his real voice.
Who knows?
You know what I mean? It would look more like him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
That'll probably come in the future. You know what I mean?
That's more in the future, I think.
Yeah, but it's not far off because, you know, you do see a lot of, you know, that stuff exists now, you know.
Yeah, you do.
Like people can take a picture, not even a video, you know, and just like animate it and it looks almost like a singing happy birthday or whatever. You know?
Technology.
Yeah.
I think they wanted to keep it authentic though, really. With that film.
Yeah, I guess so, man.
Yeah. But it worked.
Yeah.
It worked. It was a good film.
It was a good film. It'll definitely generate a lot of money for the estate, you know what I mean? So you can't knock him.
Yeah, definitely. So going back to like Jam Jar Sam, what else have you got planned for Jam Jar?
At the moment, we're just really pushing the Monday nights. So we've had a new location since last summer, since the end of last summer, since the Dark Horse kind of flopped.
Yeah. Because it's hard, well, because I had last year over 100 clubs got shot in the UK. You must have heard about that. I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, there it's really bad management as well, to be fair. I think more than, more than, you know. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yes, so the new place is really nice. The station's got a big outside bit. We're getting loads of guests all the time and trying to really push the live stream side of it.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, really, I'd like it to be a platform so that, you know, when people come to Birmingham, artists or DJs or anything, they know they have to come and, you know, even play a little half an hour there or come sing 2 tunes and, you know what I mean, as a kind of reactor for you know, for any reggae that passes through the town, and also trying to get network with all the other DJs.
Yeah.
And for a long time we were a little bit isolated in Moseley and we're kind of doing our thing.
I was going to say, because I was talking to an artist before, Robbie Culture.
Yeah.
And even he was saying the same thing, like with Moseley and everything. There's 2 different scenes. I was talking to him about it. There's 2 different scenes. Like, you got South Birmingham.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, it's a big scene at the Balsa Heath, Moseley, and everywhere else. And then you got like Handsworth and the inner city areas. Yeah. And everyone can kind of do their own thing. And
that's it. And it's been really hard to like, you know, connect the two. But I feel like it's kind of getting there now. You know, we've had, well, obviously we've had loads of DJs from the other side, loads of radio DJs as well. And, you know, I feel like it's really, the scene's kind of joining together now and, you know, cementing a little bit more. And if you come to the station, you'll see like a whole heap of different people, man. You know, all sorts of different ages. People from like South Side, people from North Side.
Yeah.
You know, black people, white people, Asian people, anything, man. You know what I mean? And I think that's really the beauty. You know, coming back to Bob Marley, you know, that's really what, you know, reggae has done for a lot of people is you know, bring that thing that it's a music that I remember meeting a guy right in Paris when I was. Like some of the first reggae CDs I was buying in a shop, and he gave me a few pointers and stuff. And he was telling me, he said, reggae is the music that is the most listened to in the world. It's bigger than rock, it's bigger than rap, it's bigger than techno, it's bigger than anything, you know what I mean? But it's not talked about as much, but everybody listens to it. And I think he's right, you know what I mean? And especially when you look at it in England, it's such a big part of English culture, you know.
The culture.
Even though, you know, people always talk about the Windrush and Rare and how they came with the sound systems. That was you know, 100 years ago almost. You know what I mean? And now it's really a real part of you know, British culture.
Yeah. You
know, whether, you know, we just go to any old pub in, you know, even areas where, you know, they haven't seen Caribbean people for years, you know what I mean? They always play reggae, they always have like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like UB40 was mainstream, you know what I mean? And
but why do you think it's not as mainstream as it was before? In that time, do you think the music's changed, or
it's a difficult one? Because definitely the music has definitely changed in terms of, you know, I don't really know who's actually, you know, consuming reggae and pushing it now on a, do you know what I mean? A lot of people come and listen to it as well as other stuff, which is why, you know, people come to Jam Jar and they like it.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, there's something for everyone and you're always going to connect to that thing because it's got elements of blues, it's got elements of rock, it's got elements of jazz, it's got, you know, calypso, it's got all sorts of different musics, all, you know, it's the ultimate melting pot of music in it, really, when you think of it.
It is.
And But yeah, I think now in terms of production, I mean, I think a big thing as well is the message. So when you look at the 70s and 80s and speak to people who were on the reggae scene at the time and all the frontline stuff and all that, and it all feels like it was it wasn't just music to have fun, it was a real necessity, you know what I mean? Especially for black people to have an identity, to have their own thing, and also that, associate to the Rasta movement for people who otherwise had nothing, to think now, actually, we're all kings and queens and you know what I mean? We're like part of some big thing, and you're going to get your dues at the end of it all and all this kind of stuff. And so I think it was, a really important social force.
Yeah.
And now people just haven't got that. I don't know, it's because, there's a bit less racism, or I don't know, that people don't feel like it's as important as before. I don't know, man.
You're not hearing the certain topics, you're not hearing the hardcore.
Now music's more just entertainment in it, or like you'll hear more stuff about, girls and quite explicit lyrics and stuff, and people are into that. And after, spending all week at work, maybe you don't want to hear about how bad the system is. And,
yeah.
I think, generally, I think when you go out, you see, a lot of people take like a lot of drugs and a lot of, it's kind of that forgetting about, what's happening. Whereas, especially roots reggae was really about focusing on, on reality.
And the roots.
And,
Yeah.
So it was a rebel music, and there was more need for rebellion. Whereas now, the most rebellious music is maybe just bad man music. It's just like, yeah, man, I'll just shoot anyone. You know what I mean? Which is a different kind of rebellion, but it doesn't really...
It's not the same.
It doesn't help.
It doesn't help. You need to have like the reality, and you need a balance as well.
Yeah.
Because obviously the bad man songs were always there. It's not like
definitely.
it wasn't even back in before our time. There was always bad man songs.
Yeah.
But there was a balance. You're not really hearing that balance no more. You're not even really hearing juggling rhythms, like a variety of songs on the same beat.
No. But then I heard someone argue that with all the kind of trap dancehall and stuff, it's pretty much just one rhythm anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They all sound so similar that you can still juggle them as one thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So but I think the one rhythm thing, I still believe in it, in terms of getting different artists on it. You've got your new artists that haven't bust yet, that are getting pulled up by the famous artists on the series. And, and that really helped as well, like keep the scene going, so you'd get like a more advanced kind of artist helping out, a new artist just by being on the same rhythm.
Yeah.
And so as a producer, you'd had your like kind of selling points, and then you had your like prospect ones, you know what I mean?
So you could balance it. You had the artist and the mainstream or the main artist, you'd front that, and then you'd have up and coming artists on the rhythm.
Yeah, that's it. It was, I mean, people still do it, don't get me wrong, I mean, we still, the last rhythm we did was the Black Cab rhythm, which is kind of a take on the Taxi, which was all Birmingham artists as well, apart from L16. So I still think it's, I still like it, man.
Yeah.
And even when I'm DJing, like more times I'll play at least 2 cuts on the rhythm if I play the rhythm, you know what I mean?
That's a good rhythm. That's one of your productions. So any other production you got in the pipeline?
Man, we've got quite a lot in the pipeline. It's just about trying to organize it. So I've got we got a new rhythm with Solo Banton and Mikey Tuff on it.
Okay.
And Mikey Tuff's alphabetical rhythm. We've got a more rubber dub rhythm as well. I don't even know what it's going to be called yet. Which has got,
that's exclusive. You never got a name for you.
That's it. Which has got Vivian Jones on it as well, amongst other people. And then with Tomlin Mystic and One Simmers, who are the 2 other singers, as well as Mikey on the band, I've got a few tunes for them as well coming out. So Tomlin's ones are more kind of roots and culture, a bit like the Salam. I don't know if you heard the Salam tune that he put out, which is more kind of old school roots kind of feel. I'm considering maybe putting some of that onto vinyl. And same, I've got Al Campbell tune, I've got Michael Prophet tune that are waiting to come out. It's just about finding the right time and working out the best way to do it, whether it's a vinyl thing, whether it's part of an album, is it still relevant? Singles, rhythm albums, it's hard, man.
So you're busy. On top of that, you have your weekly nights and events.
Yeah,
and
that's
your band.
it. And the band and the rehearsals and the dub plate thing's a big part as well of the studio,
How did you get into the dub plate cutting the culture?
Daddy Freddie, I have to say it was really him. I met him through Murray Man and Rastweed. Well, Rastweed was my original link because he's from Moseley and obviously the whole link with the night and all that. So I knew him for a while. And he introduced me to Murray, who was doing stuff with Daddy Freddie. And before that, we'd done a show with Whitey, and Daddy Freddie had turned up, and his manager at the time had got in touch and said, "Oh, you know, he wants to play at your night, but they wanted like some mad money for it." And then I found out that he was hanging out with Murray Man in the studio, so I talked to Murray, and he's like, "Yeah, we'll sort it out." And but anyway, at the time he didn't have a passport, and he was basically doing loads of dubs to try and make a raise to buy a new passport so that he could get out and do shows around the world. And so basically he was just looking to do dubs, man. And so so that was kind of the beginning of it, was just recording for him for sounds that he had links to.
Yeah.
And yeah, people like the quality and stuff. People going, oh, because I don't know where he'd recorded before, but you know, sometimes for dubs people go into like cars or whatever, or do it on their phones, or I don't know.
Could be a hustle.
Yeah, it could be a hustle. It was an actual, I mean, it was a project studio, don't get me wrong. It was just my little room in my house, but you know, it was clean enough, and people were like, oh yeah. And so that was the beginning, really.
Yeah.
And then through getting artists for our friendly fire sessions, that was once a month at the Hare and Hound.
Yeah.
Get them to do dubs as well, to try to like make a little bit extra money on top. And then I think just from one thing to the next, kind of, that was I definitely have to credit Daddy Freddie for getting me on the hustle in the first place, you know what I mean?
And it's still going now. You still do the dub play cutting?
Yeah, I do it every pretty much every week. I get a different artist, and
every week
I'm linked to a few different people as well, so I can get stuff done elsewhere. And so yeah, there's a website, friendlydubs.com.
Yeah.
If you ever need any dubs, any mixing, mastering, remixing.
Yeah, because you do the whole lot.
That's it. Yeah, we've got the facilities.
Yeah, that's good. So to wrap it up, you got any message going out to your listeners, your fans? Because you got a big fan base. I know you say you're isolated, but 20 years, it's got to be one of the longest.
Doing it, definitely, man. Well, I just want to say thanks to everybody who supported the thing, you know, including yourself, and you know, all the people on the radio, all the people in, you know, the record shops, and all the venues, and you know, and all the people that kind of trusted us in the early days when we didn't have much going for us, you know what I mean, and really needed a push. So yeah, man, I'm really grateful to, you know, from coming here as a French kid in like 18-year-old in the 90s, you know what I mean, to actually, like, you know, I feel like I'm part of you know, the scene in the community, the reggae thing, you know what I mean, and it's really nice to be involved in and to be able to contribute to it as well, and feel like, you know, it's a worthwhile thing. I'm not just like skimming off other people's culture, you know what I mean. I feel like I'm got some kind of input in it,
your contribution.
And it's
when the Brexit thing went on, you must have been thinking, oh man, as a French kid coming over,
I was vexed, man, because the whole, you know, the whole world crumbled in a way, you know. I mean, it's fine, like the way it's settled with the, you know, with the government and all that. I've got this settled status, which means that it's just the same as before for me. So that's all right.
But at the time, it was just like,
yeah, it's just too much, and just arguing with people about it, saying, look, man, it's not going to be good. I feel good, no, for whatever arguments. And now everything that I was worrying about is kind of, you know, happening. Like, you know, everything's really expensive, like the food's sub-quality, substandard, you know what I mean? There's no more European nothing to protect you, you know what I mean? Like, who do you go and complain to now if, you know, if the government's on your case, you know, if it's being unfair, or I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
we're still there.
We're
still near Europe. You can still drive across on the ferry, and you know what I mean. It's not the end of the world, but it you know, a bit harder to, you know, working in festivals, bringing artists over, and
I was going to say
stuff,
that
you know,
bringing artists over,
selling records, man. You know what I mean? Like the import taxes and the export taxes, depending which way you're going, it's just like, it just makes it really hard. So you know, like before you could press your records in Europe and didn't really make a difference, but now if you're pressing them in Europe and you want to sell some in England, your price is like loads more because you got to pay this import tax. But then if you press them in England, there's not enough market, so you're gonna have to send some to Europe anyway.
Right.
So I don't know, man. Obviously you can always kind of hustle it and, you know, put it at the back of your bag or drive it and, you know, and hope nobody says anything, but you know, it's not,
in general, it just
makes it hard basically.
Yeah. But you're still going, and you still got the support. You're still
that's
here.
it. And it's still fun, man. You know, and I love music at the end of the day. And
that's the main thing.
You know, even if I didn't work in it as a, you know, as a way of making money and as a, you know, as a lifestyle, I'd still listen to reggae. I'd still play it. I'd still get, you know, want to record stuff. You know what I mean? So it's nice in a way to be able to like have that hobby and actually put it into business. Really, you know?
Definitely.
Even if it's not a very like good money maker kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know. It's not the most lucrative of businesses, but it's definitely the most enjoyable. So
Definitely.
It's worth it. You know, you lose on one side, you win on the other. It's all good.
Here and there.
That's
so if
it.
people want to get in touch with you, how can they get in contact with you?
Probably the best is, I mean, there's a few different ones because there's so many different activities. I've had to kind of break it down. But friendlyfiremusic.com, or if you're looking at Linktree, we've got Friendly Fire Band, Friendly Fire Music, and Jamja Sound, all on Linktrees that give you like the most, gives you all the Instagrams, the Facebooks, and all the social links. Links to the Spotify as well, like Friendly Fire Band on Spotify, and obviously all your other platforms, Apple Music, rare. If definitely go on there, listen to the tunes, like them, share them. You know, sharing is caring, and it doesn't cost a thing, and it really helps. It really makes a big difference when people play the music to their friends, and keep the thing going.
And you got your regular Monday night
On
every
regular
Monday.
Monday, at the station in Kings Heath. It's just as you get into Kings Heath, in front of the police station, and it's from 10 till 1. And it's also streamed live on Rex Radio, on Genesis Radio Birmingham, and on our Mixcloud, if you want to see it with the visuals as well.
Brilliant. Robbie, every time. Blessings,
That's it, man.
Blessings.
Nice one for that, man.
No, respect.